session is going to be about AWS and AI. So we will see what AWS has to offer on the AI front, what else AI-based services AWS offers that we can leverage. So there are multiple services available in AWS that make use of AI. Based on our requirements, we can use them. We'll go through them one by one. But the main focus of this session will be on AWS Q, Amazon Q, that is a recently rolled out feature by Amazon, you might have heard of. And it has really some promising features that we will talk about today. So before we begin, let's understand why AWS and AI. So when I say AWS and AI, what does it mean exactly? Those who are not familiar much with cloud. So does it mean that we can use AWS just like ChatGPT or other providers like Bard? So practically it is possible. So in AWS, we get the flexibility to build such solutions from scratch, and we get flexibility in terms of customization, pricing, and choosing the model of our own choice. So let's start with the first service for today. So AWS Transcribe. AWS Transcribe is basically a service in AWS that converts speech to text. So whatever you say, it gives you the output in terms of text. A similar service like Google Translate, it uses such service in the background to identify first what are the words that are being spoken. So it has been trained by AIML in the background. So it is available in two modes. Okay, one is batch mode and streaming mode. So let's suppose if you have a file, let's say an audio file or a movie, and you want to create transcription of it. Transcription basically means whatever you convert from speech to text, that is known as transcription. So if you want to generate captions for a particular movie or a video, you will simply feed the particular video file or an audio file to Amazon Transcribe using the batch mode. And once the job is complete, AWS Transcribe will dump the result, meaning the file which contains the transcripts in S3. That is the batch mode. And for streaming mode, it is for live streaming. So batch mode is for files which you already have, the data that you already have and you want to transcribe. But streaming mode is something that you want to transcribe live as we speak. So Amazon Transcribe, using this mode, we can get live transcriptions, mainly used for call recordings and all. Like in Zoom, we have the transcription feature. So some of the use cases of AWS Transcribe would be, as I said, generating captions and subtitles for movies by feeding the media files to it. And most commonly, recently, clients have been using this feature to store the call recordings. Instead of storing actual recordings, meaning in MP3 files, obviously it will charge more because of the size. So clients are moving to opting for just storing the transcripts that is lighter in weight and size. That can be also used, like if you store the transcripts of calls for, let's say, call centers and all, you can use it for further analysis, running some summaries and all, and stuff like that. Some of the features of AWS Transcribe include channel detection and language detection. So even if you don't tell AWS Transcribe what language you're speaking, it is able to identify that. So that's an add-on feature, slightly more expensive. And besides that, also channel detection is there for that. In terms of pricing, if you, let's say, if you give an audio of 60 minutes, it's going to charge you $1.44 roughly. Moving to the next service, AWS Translate. So as simple as it sounds, the work of this service is basically to translate text to text. So if you have text in English, it will translate it to any other language that you wish for. So typical use cases include international communication and translating of emails, documents, similar like Google Translate. So Google Translate in background, it uses combination of services similar to Translate and Transcribe. First, it transcripts what you have said, and then it uses a service like AWS Translate to translate the text. Moving on to the next, AWS Poly. So AWS Poly is the exact opposite of AWS Transcribe. So Poly converts text to speech. So whatever text input that you give, it will be converted into speech. So the typical use cases of AWS Poly would, we can say, if there is a PDF and you want the clients to have a read aloud feature for the PDF instead of reading the PDF text by themselves, you can basically feed the entire text content of PDFs to AWS Poly, and the Poly will synthesize audio for it. And yeah, things will work like that. Another use case would be to generate alternate language audio tracks. Like, for example, you might have seen in some of the movies, there are alternate tracks available, audio tracks in different languages. So mainly those audio tracks are recorded ones, but you can also generate audio for a particular movie if you have a caption. Let's say if you have captions for English, Spanish, French for a particular movie, you can just feed those caption files to AWS Poly, and it will generate audio for it, and you'll be having multi language audio support. To the next, AWS Bedrock. So AWS Bedrock is basically a foundation for building generative AI applications. So what does it mean? Basically, since we all know, ChatGPT 3.5 and ChatGPT 4 are models provided by OpenAI. So OpenAI is a model provider. So similar to OpenAI, there are other model providers as well in the market that are less known and they are not much popular. So Amazon Bedrock provides you models provided by these model providers. So these are some of the model providers apart from OpenAI, whose models have been launched in AWS Bedrock. So you have the flexibility to choose any one of them. So there are various models available based on your requirements. These all differ by their limitations, pricing, and capabilities. So their pricing is also very much competitive with OpenAI. In fact, some are very cheap as well, like Amazon Titan. Amazon Titan, they have launched their own model. It's known as Amazon Titan V1 Express. So it's very cheap, like for close to 750 words in the prompt request, you are charged around $0.0003, and similar pricing for the response as well. So this is one of the cheapest in the Bedrock. Also, another thing about Bedrock is that these are basically pre-trained models that are provided by Bedrock. So you can even train them further based on your requirement, feed more data to it, or you can use them as it is, as they're provided. So in terms of security, AWS Bedrock has a really promising things, like most importantly, they claim that the data, which meaning the prompts and all what we request to the Bedrock models, it is not shared by shared to anyone outside AWS, not even the model providers. So whatever data that you give, it stays in the AWS region and is encrypted using HIPAA compliance and other security norms. So security wise, it's really moving on to the next, Amazon Q. So as I said, Amazon Q is a recently rolled out feature. So first, let's understand what Amazon Q is exactly. So it's a generative AI powered assistant. So to understand it better, let's see what are the counterparts of Amazon Q in the market. So you all must have seen AI chat assistants in some of the websites that you visit. And basically, you are supposed to ask questions to the particular chatbot about the company side of the company that you are visiting. And the chatbot is supposed to answer to your queries. Basically, the chatbot needs to be fed data before and be trained with the data so that it can answer your questions. So for example, if you go to a website and let's say it's an insurance company and ask a question like, tell me the rules of claiming a particular vehicle insurance. So you don't want to navigate through all the pages, then read all the documents and understand what fits you well and then make a decision. Besides that, you want to ask this question to the chat assistants who has already studied and meaning who has already been fed with the data, and he should be able to answer to your questions. So uh, Amazon Q is basically this, but it is a lot better, a lot more features than this. So most of the AI assistants that are there in the market, there are many limitations. Uh, some of the limitations are wrong answers or hallucinations. So it means that the questions that you ask, the response that you get are totally unrelated sometimes. Also, there is no guarantee that it will not share confidential information. Like you have fed some confidential files to Amazon Q for analysis or whatever, and you want to make sure that it does not that data is not returned or been given out by Amazon Q to random customers or random users. So that is there. And also, most of these AI assistants are not uh, trained with sufficient data. So Amazon Q basically tries to bridge this gap of the data of a company and the AI assistant itself, or to connect all the sources properly so that the AI assistant knows very well about your company. So Amazon Q basically understands your company information in 360 degrees. You just need to feed it with all the data. Uh, Also, it personalizes interactions based on your role. So what it means that it only gives you responses to questions that you are allowed to ask question. Like for example, there are certain files that are fed to Amazon Q maybe, and some of the files you do not have permission to it. So admins will make sure that the permissions are set in such a way that even if you ask questions to Amazon Q about the particular files, you will only get access to those kind of content that you have permission to. So yeah, one example would be, let's say Amazon Q has been, let's take the example of the same insurance company, and the insurance company has made Amazon Q to be usable by uh, site visitors as well, so that they can know about the policies and stuff, and also to their own employees. So let's say an employee of the insurance company logs in, and he wants to know his leave balance, and he wants to know the leave policy, let's say, for example. So Amazon Q, based on his permissions, he will get the data. But let's say if the same questions are asked by a random user, those things will be taken care of. That certain data should not be given to random users based on permissions. So we'll see later on how these permissions work. So Amazon Q is the business expert based on the data fed. So it understands the business in 360 degrees. So let's take, for example, a manufacturing company. A data for a particular company might be in multiple places, like sales data in Excel files stored somewhere, then website related data, databases, and human resource, HR department related PDFs and all scattered in some other data sources. So the company would want Amazon Q to be fed with all this data and understand the data, analyze the data, and later on we should be able to answer a question Amazon Q about whatever we want to know about the company. So the best example we can take is let's say a web development company like SJ. If we make use of Amazon Q, and if we feed all the data like our repositories that are used by developers, then there are documents like shared in the shared folders from Google Drive and various policy related documents. If we feed all this data to Amazon Q, let's say, and my TL asks me, let's say, to go through the PR process related docs. So many of you must be aware that we have a PR policy for the Git versioning. So let's say if I want to know whether in SJI we are allowed to push data directly to dev or not by merging from local. So one way I can do it is get the document first. Maybe I will ask HR first to give me the document. Then I will read the document. Then I will search for the particular line or basically where what answer I'm seeking to. And then I will understand. Meaning, then I will get my answer. So instead of doing all this, there is a Slack integration available of Amazon Q for. So basically, I will go in Slack and I will ask this question about, tell me about the PR policy of this company and tell me whether I'm allowed to merge with develop and push the branch. So this I will ask Amazon Q on Slack. Okay, and Amazon Q will return me the answer by giving me proper citations like where it found the answer, and basically I will get the answer because the Amazon queue will be already fed with all this data. So also security wise, the data of Amazon queue is not used to train it further. So that is one thing about security to be considered. So again, provides answers with references and citations. So it will not just give answers, but it will tell you where it found the answers, so that it is easier for you to fact checking and be assured with the answer. Also, it respects existing access control based on user permissions. So connects to a 40 popular enterprise. So basically, it means that there are over 40 third-party integrations available with Amazon Q. Like it can be S3, Atlassian Confluence, Jira, Salesforce, and Slack, as I mentioned. Then other data sources like Google Drive and all. So all these connects are available so that you can easily connect your data sources with Amazon Q. And also very important feature is that it enables administrator to easily apply guardrails. So certain guidelines you can apply for Amazon Q to for the response of the data, so that even if certain people have the access to certain data, you don't want that particular data to be given in response. We'll talk about that in detail later on. So guardrails is another feature that is there in Amazon Q. So Jira, here is an example about Jira. So let's say if we have Jira integration with Amazon Q, and simply like a particular use case would be, I would simply ask Amazon Q to, let's say, summarize the entire conversation and create a ticket on Jira. So since the integration is already available, it will keep these things ready that you see on the screen, and it will summarize the content on whatever content if we put in the ticket, it will keep it ready so that you can create a ticket very easily. So another cool feature over here in Amazon Q is file upload. So when we use ChatGPT or Bard, we only give text input. We normally don't have the feature to like upload a file. So here we can upload files to Amazon Q, and like maybe we can ask questions like analyze this file or tell me the contents of this file, or even you can upload the same file of different versions and ask it like tell me the difference between these two files, what things have changed. So multiple file types are supported for now, PDF, docs, CSV, PPT. Access control lists in Amazon Q. How does Amazon Q make sure that certain content is only allowed to certain people? So on the left hand side, you see all the data sources, like the databases, Google Drive, Atlassian, Confluence, S3, everything integrated to Amazon Q. So when you integrate it with Amazon Q, basically Amazon Q will crawl over all this data, similar crawler that is used by Google, and it will store all the data in semantic indexes so that later on it can be easily retrieved. And along with when it stores data into the semantic indexes, it will attach ACLs, that is access control list, to the data, which specifies which data is like let's say 10 emails have the access to a particular document. So those 10 emails will be attached with the data, so that whenever Amazon Q goes to retrieve the data, it simply knows which data is allowed for whom. And basic question anyone would still ask is that how does Amazon Q even identify the users based on their roles? So the example that I gave about Slack, since for Slack we use Gmail accounts or email accounts. So since the integration is available with Slack, Amazon Q will come to know like based on the email. Basically, the admins who set up the Amazon queue, they will make sure that particular emails have certain roles set up using AWS's IAM access and identity center, and that's how Amazon queue will basically come to know about the access. So about privacy and guardrails. So the uh, admins who set up Amazon Q, they have an option to specify certain guardrails if required. Let's say for toxicity, like it can identify certain like hate speech and all, or certain illegal content being shared or conversed in the conversation that can be blocked. Then restricting responses to enterprise content only. This is a nice feature wherein you can make Amazon Q only answer to those questions which are based on the data that it has been fed with, and it will not answer any question outside of that. Let's say if you ask Amazon Q, if you have enabled this feature, and if you ask Amazon Q, what is the height of Mount Everest? So basically, if you ask this question to any AI assistant like maybe ChatGPT, it will directly give you the answer. But for Amazon Q, if you have enabled this feature, it will say it does not know because this feature has been enabled and you have not fed that data. In your company data, there is no data of Mount Everest anywhere. So yeah, if you disable this feature, meaning if you don't use this feature, it will answer your questions based on its own general knowledge it is trained for. Also, you can specify certain block words, like even if you have certain access to certain data, let's say in the note section, we have many access keys and passwords stored. And as a best practice, you don't want Amazon Q to return this data in the response, even though you have the access, like developers have the access. So you can specify those kind of things that so that access keys and all are not given out in the responses. So yeah, next thing is about the pricing. So currently Amazon Q, since it's a newly rolled out feature, it is available for free for some time. For it is in preview. So once they will start charging for it, it will be available in two tiers. One is business and builder. So in business, it will be $20 per month for per user. So you can have as many users as you want. So in Amazon Q business, you basically get all those connectors, third-party integrations. And for builder, you get all the integrations along with that in Amazon Q builder, which is $25 per month per user. In that, you get all the features that are there in Amazon business. But along with that, in Amazon Q builder, you get a function feature in such that Amazon Q is able to assist you regarding your own AWS architecture. So many clients, because of faulty architecture, they tend up to pay more than what is actually like, since their architecture is not optimized, they tend to pay like 10 times or even 20 times more. So Amazon Q Builder can help you optimize your own infrastructure. So that can be a game changer really for clients.